Hello everyone, it's teacher Lulu and it's a nice day to learn a thing or two. Our topic for this video is deriving quadratic equations. In order to derive a quadratic equation, we need to look at the given. So there are several ways to derive a quadratic equation, but for this video, we will be specifically discussing deriving quadratic equations given its roots. So let us take a look at our targets first. Number 1, review solving quadratic equations by factoring method. Number 2, derive quadratic equations given its roots. And write equivalent quadratic equations. So are you ready? Then let's begin. Let us start with a simple review. Let's start with x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. And what if we are asked to get its roots? So, in this case, since it is factorable, we will be using the factoring method. Factoring x squared minus 2x minus 15, we will get x minus 5 multiplied by x plus 3. And that is still equal to 0. Using the zero product property, we will have x minus 5 equals 0 and x plus 3 equals 0. Solving for x, we have x equals 5 and x equals negative 3. Therefore, the roots of x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0 are 5 and negative 3. But this time, it will be the other way around. The roots will be given and we will work backwards to obtain the equation. We will call this reverse factoring method. In order to learn more about this, we will be using several examples. Let's have number 1. Derive a quadratic equation whose roots are negative 5 and 1. So, since we are doing the reverse factoring method, we will start with the roots. So that is x equals negative 5 and x equals 1. Then, in order to use the zero product property, both should be equated to 0. So, we transpose. Lipat-lipat. So, that is x plus 5 equals 0. And then, we do the same here. So, that is x minus 1 equals 0. Reverse of zero product property, it will mean that if we multiply this and this, we will obtain 0. So that is x plus 5 multiplied by x minus 1 equals 0. Using FOIL method or any method that you are used to, we will obtain x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. Thus, a quadratic equation whose roots are negative 5 and 1 is x squared minus 4x minus 5 equals 0. But if we would like to explore more about this, if I have this equation and then multiply it by 2, for example, I will obtain 2x squared plus 8x minus 10 equals 0. And this equation is another quadratic equation. And if we will take a closer look, if we will find its roots, all we have to do is factor. Factor out 2. So that means it will become like this. And then factor out x squared minus 4x minus 5. And we know that it will lead us to the roots negative 5 and 1. See? X squared minus 4x minus 5 equals 0.
Hey!
I'm so sorry, that is plus 4x. And 2x squared plus 8x minus 10 equals 0 will have the same roots. We call them equivalent quadratic equation. So, if we want equivalent quadratic equations, all we have to do is just multiply the whole equation by a certain constant. And that constant should not be equal to 0 because that will just eliminate the whole thing. Or we could actually say that we can get an equivalent quadratic equation by, by giving a specific value of a. So how is that? Let's have the next example. Derive a quadratic equation whose roots are -2 and 7. So again, we are going to work backwards. Start with the roots x equals -2 and then x equals 7, 7. And then lipat-lipat para maging 0. So that's x plus 2 equals 0 and x minus 7 equals 0. Multiply them, reverse of zero product property. So that's it. And then multiply by FOIL method. So we will have x squared minus 5x minus 14 equals 0. So we now have our quadratic equation. But this time, a specific phrase was given. A should be 2. So in order for us to have A as 2, we need to multiply this by 2. And then that will mean that we are going to multiply our whole equation by 2. So we will multiply this by 2 because of the specification. Okay, so that is 2x squared minus 10x minus 28 equals 0. There, we now have a quadratic equation whose roots are -2 and 7, and a is 2. Got it? I know you got it. Let's have another example. We are still going to look for the quadratic equation whose roots are 2/3 and -1/2. And now the value of a is -1/2, -1 rather. So I know what you are thinking right now. Ma'am, why? Bakit fraction yan? And then others are thinking na parang nag-iba yung gagawin kasi nagkaroon ng fraction. But actually, the same yung method. So, equal sa x la parehas kasi root sila. And then, eliminate fraction. So, we could actually cross-multiply 3 times x. So, that's 3x equals 2. And then, I have 2 times x is 2x equals -1. So, na-eliminate na yung fraction. Kaya, pwede ka na maglipat-lipat. So, I have 3x minus 2 equals 0. And then, 2x plus 1 equals 0. And then, reverse natin yung zero product. So, I have this. And then, using the FOIL method, I will write here, I'll have 6x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0. So notice that I have -1 as a and I have 6. So this time multiplying everything by -1 will not work because you see if I multiply it by -1, I'll have -6 as a. So how could I make this -1? Yes, I need to divide it by -6, right? So that's 6 divided by -6 is -1. But I cannot just do it here. I need to do it with the whole thing. So I need to divide everything by -6 so that I'll get negative x squared or -1x. So negative, negative, that is positive x over 6. And then -2 divided by -6 is positive 1/3 equals 0. So our quadratic equation is -x squared plus x over 6 plus 1/3 equals 0. Yes. Congratulations. I know you've got it. Our next example, we still need to derive a quadratic equation. This time roots are 2 square root of 3 and -2 square root of 3. And the value of a is 2. Okay, first things first, hindi yan mahirap. Hindi porket may square root, mahirap na. Okay? Erase, erase, erase the thinking. Second is, if the given or the roots are irrational or yung may mga square roots such as this, the two roots are actually positive and a negative. So, if I have 2 square root of 3, that will mean the next or the other root will be negative 2 square root of 3. Yes. So, halimbawa, okay, hindi pa ito yung halimbawa, nagkaroon ako ng square root of 5. Automatically, na yung isa niyang root is negative square root of 5. So, kung meron akong negative 3 square root of 7, automatically, yung isang root ay 3 square root of 7. Without even saying that. Kasi, laging positive, negative. Okay? Ang reference niyan ay yung quadratic formula. Diba? Positive, negative yun. Okay? So, ganun yun. So, this time, our roots are 2 square root of 3 and then negative 2 square root of 3. So, ganun pa rin. I-reverse lang natin. Basically, we are doing the same thing. Ang nag-iiba lang sa given natin is yung nature ng given. Okay, I missed the negative. So, I have x equals 2 square root of 3 and x equals negative 2 square root of 3. So, dapat equals sa 0. And then, ito naman is plus. And then multiply. Yes. Na iniisip nyo na i-multiply, kaya parang mahirap na. But look at it. See, it's a special product. Sum and difference of two terms. So that is just the square of the first term. So I have x squared. And then the square of the last term. Minus the square of the last term. So 2 square root of 3 squared is 12. So, i-side note natin paano yun. That's 2. Oops, sorry about that. Square root of 3 squared. So, magiging, distribute natin yun. So, magiging 2 squared, tsaka square root of 3 squared. So, cancel lang dito. 2 squared is 4. Then, cancel doon. So, times 3. Kaya naging 12. Charan, 12 equals 0. Okay, may specification tayo ngayon. A is 2. So, multiply all by 2. So, that's 2x squared minus 24 equals 0. Voila. We now have our quadratic equation. It's 2x squared minus 24 equals 0. See? It just looks hard, but it's easy. Let's have our last example. We are still going to derive a quadratic equation. This time, the roots are 1 minus square root of 2 and 1 plus square root of 2. And the value of a is negative 3. So again, reminder, even if the only given is 1 minus square root of 2, automatically 1 plus square root of 2 is a root because of the reason I said a while ago. Okay. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Ma'am, it looks complicated because it will look like this. Yes, we will have x minus 1 plus square root of 2 equals 0 and x minus 1 minus square root of 2 equals 0. Yes, it looks complicated, and yes, it will be complicated. So we are going to use another method, but it is going to be in the next lesson. So right now, we have something to look forward to. We are going to find out how to derive quadratic equations if the roots looks like this. So, goodbye everyone. See you next class.